Amanda, this came down just around 2 o'clock this morning. Hurricane Idalia upgraded to a Category 3 storm, 120-mile-an-hour winds.
That's right, Frank, Caitlin. What we're seeing right now is that this system is rapidly strengthening. It's over that warm water. That's going to allow for us to see this system potentially get to that Cat 4 status before it makes landfall somewhere along the Big Bend. Now, I know it's not a direct hit to us, but take a look. We're going to feel the effects from the system. We already are at this moment in time with bands of rain and gusty wind. And in addition, where we just were with Jen, you saw over towards Crystal River right here, you can see anywhere from 3 to 6 feet, even some areas seeing potentially 9 right here in our forecast storm surge graphic. So keep that in mind. This is some of the peak surge that we could be seeing in that area. So like she was saying, as we head into the earliest hours of this morning, heading into about 7 and 8, when we first start to see that daylight, that's when you're really going to see that storm surge come into full effect. Those winds from the south and southwest are going to make that water bulge and push it into our Tampa Bay area, and it's not really going to have anywhere to go. Now, speaking about Tampa Bay, and you can see St. Pete right here, right around 1 to about 3 feet. We're anticipating less surge for Pinellas and Hillsborough County in comparison to Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco as well. So keep that in the back of your mind too. And also, again, this is a pretty much nighttime storm, so very dangerous. We want to make sure you are informed, prepared, and connected. Take a look at the system currently. You see the eye offshore here. That's great news that it is continuing to stay far away from us for the most part and staying out there over the Gulf. However, we see a large band right here and just rain shield in general with all that orange and yellow. That's indicating those higher reflectivities. So that is that significant amount of rainfall that's already impacting portions of Tallahassee if you have friends and family that way. And I know a lot of kids just went back to school last week at FSU. That's one thing to think about. And also what we see right here too is those bands are continuing to move throughout our area, but you do see somewhat of breaks in these bands. So that's why we're seeing on and off heavy amounts of rainfall, and then we see a little bit of a break. But we do continue to see the system is shifting more northward at this time with that forward motion right there. And another thing to think about too, guys, is when we think about storm surge, that's not the only thing that we got to think about in terms of water, but flooding is going to be an issue, freshwater flooding, and then also that surge. And take a look at radar right now. We continue to see that threat for tornadoes is there. So that's why we want to take this seriously right now and hunker down. We continue to see that a lot of this activity right here over towards Orlando, seeing a good amount of storms and activity there. Also some more storms as well over towards Hillsborough and also for Pinellas County, pretty much spread out. So these bands of rain and wind are not stopping. That's all going to be over our area right now. And we see for Brandon right along I-4 right here, definitely looking very slick, these roadways, thanks to that heavy amount of rainfall. We continue to see over towards Carrollwood, we're dry right there, but you just look off to the west and we have a very strong cell right there that's showing us more of that orange, that red. That's indicating those heavier downpours, and we have that light to moderate rainfall over towards 275, over towards St. Pete and near the Gandy Bridge right there. So definitely looking very wet as we are outside, and hopefully you are indoors watching this right now. And we continue to see over towards Brandon as well, some more areas of showers and storms, and then we have more of that swath of overall just larger amounts of precipitation, not stronger storms necessarily, but definitely a lot of rainfall over a short period of time right up and down I-75 just off to the northeast of Crystal River and Citrus County as well. So definitely seeing this storm is definitely putting a lot of water down in our area over a short period of time. Look at these rainfall estimates. These are radar estimates of the amount of rainfall we've seen over the past 12 hours. So you do see 2.5 inches for portions of Pasco County, another 2 inches as well for Hillsborough County. So this over time is what leads, when we see training is what we call it, storms going over the same areas and dropping a lot of rainfall over a short period of time again and again in the same locations. That is what leads to flooding. In addition to that, the current wind speed about 24 sustained right now miles per hour over towards St. Pete, Clearwater area. We do see 21 for Fort Myers. And then we continue to see that this wind now is shifting towards and from and out of the southwest. So that is what is bringing us such a surge, potential. As we see this wind continue to shift in from the southwest, that's going to push all of that water, and that is why storm surge in the next couple of hours especially is going to be the #1 threat for us. And it's always the #1 #1 killer with any tropical system. So that's why we've got to keep a close eye on it. Speaking of which, here's what we're expecting in terms of peak storm surge for the Tampa Bay area, anywhere from 4 to 6 feet there. A little further to the north, 7 to 11. And then we do see for portions of, you can see right there, the Big Bend, definitely seeing that life threatening and just devastating storm surge for those poor people in that area. So really something we got to monitor. And again, like we were mentioning, with that latest advisory, we do see that Hurricane Idalia at this present moment in time is moving northward at about 15 miles per hour. Those winds sustained at 120 miles per hour, and that pressure keeps on dropping, 944 millibars. So when this number continues to drop, that means the system is strengthening. And so taking a look at the track, it is anticipated to rapidly intensify before making landfall later on into this morning. We can see that we can anticipate this system to intensify into a Category 4 hurricane before making landfall somewhere along the Big Bend area. You can see right here in that track just east of Tallahassee. So for people that have children at FSU or you go to FSU, that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. Luckily, you guys are not on the dirty side of the storm. However, definitely going to feel impacts from gusty winds, rain bands, all of that. And we also see a lot of impacts still here throughout the morning hours for the Tampa Bay area. I know this is not a direct hit, but you want to listen to me, folks. Storm surge is going to be an issue for our area, along with more rainfall, freshwater flooding. These are the things that we got to talk about. And so then after that system makes landfall, what happens next? Well, it's going to continue to move inland, and as it does so, weakens to a Cat 1 as it's pushing closer towards Georgia, the Carolinas, Wilmington. You can see by the time it makes it to that area, now it's weakening into a tropical storm. However, still bringing a good amount of impacts to the coast of the Carolinas there, and then continuing to push back out into the Atlantic as we head into late Thursday. So the system, as we head into Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, is already going to be weakening into a Cat 1 and then anticipated to move into the Carolinas, followed up by Friday morning. We already see the system out there potentially in the Atlantic, still at that tropical storm strength and continuing to move more eastward as well. So with that in mind, and speaking about the fact that this thing could intensify yet again and strengthen into that Cat 4, let's talk about exactly when and where we're going to see those bands of rain and wind for us here over the next couple of hours. So we're at about 3 a.m. right here. We continue to see the system shifting more towards the north, making its eye, getting ready to make that landfall heading into that 6-7 a.m. hour right here, and bringing us continuous bands of rain and wind heading into that 5 a.m. hour. We see a good amount of reflectivities that are showing us some strong storms, heavy amounts of rainfall. And remember, within these bands, you could see that isolated tornado threat. Most of that's going to die off heading into the next couple of hours. By 6, 7, we should see that threat start to die off, but still dealing with a good amount of rainfall. And then we see those winds coming in from the southwest, pushing in all of that water. That's when that surge threat is going to be very high as well. And then the system's looking to make landfall right along the Big Bend, right around 7 a.m. So as we get that daylight in, we're going to get better imagery and a better idea of exactly what that storm is looking like, especially along the Panhandle and the portions of the Big Bend as well. So the system continues then to travel more inland. You can see this is 10:30. We're still dealing with the outermost portions of the bands of rain and wind from the system, but starting to see things die off as we head into the later afternoon hours. But here are some of the impacts you can expect county by county. Take a look. Citrus, Hernando, Pasco. Now up until about lunchtime, we see those winds anywhere from about, I'd say 40 to 60 miles per hour, gusting up to 65. And we could see that surge anywhere from 6 to 11 feet, and then that rainfall anywhere between about 4 to 7 inches. Now, county by county, we do see that storm surge impact potentially for Pinellas and Hillsborough anywhere from 3 to 5 feet. So that's something to think about too. Then we could see 2 to 4 inches for that rainfall locally. Some spots, isolated spots, some areas could see even higher than that. So that's a lot of rainfall in a little bit of time, which yes, we need the rainfall. We've been in a drought, but we don't need this much in over this short of a period of time, because that leads to the flooding issues. Now, outside of that, as we make our way over towards portions of Manatee and Sarasota County, that storm surge threat starts to lessen as well, anywhere from 1 to 3 feet, potentially 4. So keep that in mind. And then we also do see a good amount of rainfall there as well. And we do have that threat for a tornado. So here's some things to expect when you wake up. You definitely want to keep in mind that surge is going to be there, that surge threat. And outside outside of that, folks, again, county by county impacts. And one more time, we do want to focus in on Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco. They're going to see the largest amounts of storm surge at this time. So keep that in mind. And then also making our way back to Pinellas and Hillsborough County at this point in time, storm surge anywhere from 3 to 5 feet. So again, on radar, we're continuously seeing bands of rain and wind at this point in time. But for right now, I'm going to toss it back over to news. I think you guys are just getting exactly what we need right there. The information out. We continue to see and monitor these bands of rain and gusty winds, and that surge, remember, is going to be that #1 threat that we want to talk about heading into the next couple of hours.